sparked so much of what we know about our history and the civil rights movement.
Yeah, and again, those four brothers, David Richmond, Franklin McCain, Ezell Blair Jr., and Joseph McNeil, all freshmen. And just because they were fed up, they literally set Black students across the country on fire. And when they started in that movement, you had sisters from Bennett College. And the thing I want to tell you about Bennett College is that at Bennett College, there was a sister from my hometown, from Jackson, Mississippi, named Willa Player. Now, Willa Player became the first Black woman to lead a 4-year institution in this country. And so when the sisters from Bennett College wanted to be involved in the movement, as the president of the college, President Player said, look, you go in there and you do what you have to do. And if you get arrested, we'll bring your homework to you in jail. And when those students from Bennett College, those sisters got arrested, true to her word, she had the instructors to take their homework to them while they were in jail so that they can keep their academics going. So again, what those four brothers did, and that's why if you go to the campus of North Carolina A&T now, they have a monument of those four brothers entitled February 1. But again, from that movement, that's what lit the entire South on fire, of getting these young brothers and sisters involved. And that led to the formation of SNCC. And from SNCC, you had the Freedom Rides. And from the Freedom Rides, there were brothers and sisters that just did phenomenal work. And again, with Bevels, just remember, 1963, what ended the Montgomery bus boycott, not the bus boycott, but the Montgomery situation was Bevel said to King, we should use children. So they used children as young as 3rd and 4th grade. And these children ended up getting arrested. But because these children, little bitty children, got involved in this situation, that's what brought Birmingham. And you remember Birmingham because that's where Bull Connor set the hoses and the dogs on everybody. But it was James Bevel, who was one of the students under Lawson, and learned about this nonviolent means. That's what brought Birmingham.
Technique, Let me, I think this is I mentioned we want to get to Ukraine, and Brother Marcus, good morning to you. You haven't I know we haven't heard from you yet, and I want to come to you. But I actually want to dovetail this conversation with one of the stories that I wanted to cover this morning, which is the 12 HBCUs. When you mentioned North Carolina A&T, the first thing I think of is it's an HBCU, obviously, and 12 HBCUs that have now been hit with bomb threats, one of which is Bethune-Cookman University. That's the university that I attended for several years and marched in the marching band there. It is, there's a lot of ways that we can look at this, Brother Marcus, but you have to, one, look at it through the lens of race, because you just can't ignore the direct line, the racial component of targeting Black colleges and universities, historically Black colleges and universities, and two, a political extension of all this fear mongering around critical race theory.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think even without the recent culture war dust up of critical race theory, HBCUs are still going to be targeted. And I mean, there's some HBCUs that have a majority white, student attendance. And there's something that I talked about this yesterday, and I'd had to ask my audience to just say how many people even went to school that had a bomb threat. And now this is something that is very prevalent in America. I've been attended 2 different schools that at the time had a bomb threat. Now, did this coincide with finals? Sometimes, yeah. Did it not at all? Sometimes, yeah. Is it scary both times? Absolutely. But the thing with this that we need to focus on is that HBCUs, that's not a regionally specific type of location for colleges. They're spread out pretty much across the East. And when you've got multiple getting these bomb threats, there's really only one way to look at it. It's not this, offhand, hey, this is school in America where people get shot up and there's bomb threats all the time. When it's targeting HBCUs like this, it 100% goes back to the racist narratives that this country's done very little to exercise.
That's right. It's still here, Brother Mac, and it's deeply rooted. And I think about those 4 brothers at the counter. They were fighting to be able to eat at Woolworths while they were able to shop and get clothes there. It's recent enough that I've shopped at Woolworths, at least now. I mean, in my lifetime, I was able to shop there. But I bring that up because this history is not that long ago, right? We're not talking about, I think sometimes we see black and white photos and we think that it's such a long time ago. But Woolworths is there it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother man.
And again, Ben, you have to think about what these four brothers did. I mean, basically, because of what they did on February 1st, 1960, there were over 58 sit-in movements that took place in the South just because of what they did. And then, like I said, what was birthed out of that. And everybody, no matter what college or university they were in, they were just excited that these four brothers had the courage. And then ultimately, all of the A&T Aggies joined in with them. It was just an absolutely incredible situation. And Ben, I want to tell you when it came to an end. So on July 25th, 1960, as a result of their movement, Woolworth lost about $200,000. And today, in 2020 terms, that would equate to about $1.7 million. And so because of the economic loss, the store manager there, a guy named Clarence Harris, decided, look, man, we got to bring this thing to an end. So he took four of his black employees, told them to get out of their uniforms, put on their regular dress clothes, and sit at the counter, and they served them. And that happened on July 25th, 1960.
Wow.
That's what brought that to an end.
You know, and I'll say, if I could add, like, Brother Back, appreciating that you assembled all this and get to bring this every day. And I just can't help but think about how there's a difference between organizing and mobilizing. I mean, Kwame Ture has a great quote over that. And that's the thing of where, if you're just trying to get something popular to attach to a hashtag, you know, it's only going to get so far. You'll just get something popular. But if you're trying to mobilize people into an effort, into a goal, and I'll even take it recently to the Howard students who were mobilizing to get better housing. And so, you know, that's really the ticket, is not, you know, how do we get people in action? Because that four people in one booth led to 58 across the nation. And we got to keep. And
Brother Marcus, to think that one of the unsung heroes that we just do not hear about in our history is Brother Lawson. When you look at what James Lawson did at Fisk University, I mean, as part of that Nashville sit-in movement, he was literally the mentor, the architect behind these great names that you heard. Marion Barry, who went on to become mayor of D.C. John Lewis became a congressman. Diane Nash, who led, was a founder of SNCC, led the Freedom Ride movements. And again, James Bevel. This man was literally training hundreds of great black leaders. He was an absolutely phenomenal individual.
Wow. Yeah. I want us to go internationally now with the time that we have left. And I want to discuss Ukraine. I'm actually still awake. I had a chance to speak with Brother Terrell Starr, who spoke with us yesterday. He's there local time in Kiev. And we're discussing the nuances. And first and foremost, I want to say these conversations absolutely require nuance. Because without it, there's a level of disingenuousness that can sneak in from every single corner. And I don't mean that rhetorically. I mean that literally. We see when Republicans want to control the narrative, they ignore nuance. When it's time to get rid of the filibuster or do something for black people, we've seen the Democratic Party ignore nuance too. That's a conversation for another day. What we cannot afford to do in the conversation about international affairs, foreign policy, and particularly Ukraine is ignore the nuance there. But we're not living in a world of nuance, are we? We're living in a world of sound bites. And that's one thing I want us to be cognizant of as we have this conversation, because personally, gentlemen, I'm torn. I am personally torn because I have been following the plot of the democratic movement there in Ukraine, at least since 2004. Now, I admittedly jumped off and started not paying attention somewhere around 2014. And so I don't ever claim to be an expert in that field. However, I'm torn because I understand the plight of the people who are on the ground who want to be free of Putin. But I'm also very clear on international affairs. Putin has some reach. That's his regional, that he wants to be a regional hegemon. He wants to be the regional power there. And with Ukraine bordering right there against Russia, he has a play there. But then I'm not a pacifist, but there's enough war. We just came out of 20 wars. Now I set the frame, and I want to go to you first, Brother Marcus, because we're having these conversations, and I just want to open the floor for you to speak, and then we could take the conversation from there. What are your thoughts as it pertains to the United States involvement in Ukraine, if any?
Well, I think that what the United States' involvement is mostly going towards, building their own influence, right? This is where, I appreciate you leading in with nuance, because there's a lot of people on the ground that are getting pushed by both forces. This isn't a Putin isn't the bad guy. It's that there's possibility there's more than one bad guy, and those influences are playing on this one area. And so I think within the context of history, I don't think Putin believes there's a threat of invasion through Ukraine into Russia, but he's utilizing that historical narrative to push for more security. I think that the United States should have an understanding of that, utilize diplomacy, and do a one-for-one. You have remove the troops from the border, have some type of agreement as far as the amount of troops that can be doing training or even stationed. We could, that's more, let's let the State Department figure out what the specific numbers are in exchange for a lot, saying that Ukraine will not join NATO. And this won't preclude, the U.S. and Ukraine joining doing their own other alliances or what have you. But I think in order to completely end this situation right now, that would be the fastest diplomatic effort, going partly in line with Russia wants, not all the way. And then, I think the United States would get a little bit of what they want, quote unquote. But at the end of the day, I don't think that these ideological narratives, like democracy versus authoritarianism, I don't think that these are actually what's kind of happening on the ground. I think it's dealing more with resources, energy, move and the making money off of it. So Putin's looking for more access to the Black Sea. This is something where it's Putin's not a socialist. He's not really looking to build back the USSR. He's using that narrative to his own means, which is to enrich himself and the oligarchy within Russia.
See, that's exactly right, and that's why I wanted you to come on, because Brother Mac, I hail from some of the circles of the internet that some of my former colleagues, quite honestly, are peddling a narrative that is bothersome to me. I'm just letting it all hang out this morning because this is a sensitive topic. Some of my former colleagues are, in my best estimation, sandbagging the conversation as it pertains to the United States. Because like Marcus said, there's more than one bad guy in Ukraine. Here's my thing. We can't go underneath this delusion that Russia is communist and socialist, because that has given a lot of my former colleagues room to say, hey, let's go easy on them over there. Let's not, why is America being so aggressive to Russia? And I'm looking at this situation, Brother Mac. I'm like, if I'm going to be honest with myself, Russia looks pretty aggressive here.
I mean, listen, when you put 100,000 troops in, now it's upwards of 130,000. And on top of that, to talk about his intent, now he's moved blood supply into that same area. And you got to understand, blood supply has a shelf life on it. So it ain't like he could just sit there for years and years and figure out what he wants to do. With that blood supply being there, all intentions are that he wants to go in. Now, I have a slightly different take on why he's doing it. I have no doubt that what happened on December 25th, 1991, when the sickle and hammer failed and the Soviet Union got dissolved, based on Putin's ego, and you know the man has an ego, I think he wants to reassemble that power, which is why he went into Crimea. And now here you are looking at Ukraine. And so I think the hypocrisy behind the United States, given us as Black folks, about our own human rights here. So now America is looking at, part of it is the whole human rights aspect of it. And they're going to have to do something, because trust and believe, China is sitting there watching. Because if you remember, the U.S. weighed in on China trying to take over Taiwan. And they stated these human rights violations on the Taiwanese. So they're sitting there watching, and trust and believe, China is watching. So if Putin does invade Ukraine and the U.S. does nothing, you best believe that China is now going to set their sights on Taiwan, and they're going to do the same kind of thing. So, the question for me is, what is going to happen if Putin enters Ukraine? What is the U.S. going to do?
Oh, if we could, I don't. Go ahead, Brother Marcus.
Well, hold on. But so the Ukrainian leadership, the official Ukrainian leadership, has asked the United States to stop talking about Russia invading. They're under the belief that Russia's not going to invade. Germany, is in the same boat. They're asking us to, at this point, I think it would be best if we don't escalate, because and the thing is too, is that if the question of what's the U.S. going to do if Russia invades Ukraine, Joe Biden already said it. Nothing. The point of sending weapons to Ukraine is only to hurt Russia as much as they can in their exploits. He said it openly. If they want it, they're going to take it, but we can make it hurt. Now, that does not sound like it's an avenue in the best interest with the Ukrainian people. And so we really, off of what the Ukrainian leadership is asking for, we should stop talking about that issue and really talk about diplomatic and pressuring our officials to work in diplomatic ways.
Yeah, because Brother Marcus, listen, when they're saying we should stop talking about it because we're escalating it, you got 130,000 troops sitting right at your border. How much more of escalation could there be? And then what are Putin's demands? Putin is demanding that Ukraine not be allowed to go into NATO. And the only reason he's doing that is because NATO says you mess with one member of NATO, you mess with all of NATO. And so that's the reason why he doesn't want NATO. And he knows that that's a point. That's just a non-starter, right? That's a deal breaker from the jump. So his so-called demands of trying to negotiate are just absurd. But now,
Brother Mac, let
me just make this point, Marcus. But given what you said, I do agree that the U.S. is talking about putting down sanctions. And when they're talking about sanctions, I want people to kind of understand what the U.S. is doing. They're talking about putting a stranglehold on Russia. And that stranglehold, just imagine if they put sanctions on one of us. They said no gas station should sell gas to the Mac family. No grocery store should allow the Mac family to come in there and buy food. After a while, one with a reasonable mind, if that pain gets to hurting too much under these sanctions, let alone banks and everything else, one is going to have to acquiesce and get right with it. So I agree that, the fact that they're going to do sanctions. But if you do nothing, and unfortunately, the U.S. has put itself in a position of trying to be the police of the world. Well, you're about to be real. You're about to be tested for show right now.
Yeah, Brother Marcus.
So I guess my question is, Brother Mac, would you accept, the deal saying, hey, we won't accept Ukraine into NATO if Russia pulled back forces and agreed to not have that type of buildup on the border? Is that something that absolutely not? You would say Ukraine has to be in NATO?
No. Again, you got to remember, in order for a nation to be entered into NATO, you have to have a unanimous vote. And with Germany sitting on NATO, Germany is never going to vote for them because Germany is in line with Russia. That's where they get their oil and gas from. But as a matter of principle, It is not for the U.S. to tell any other nation that they can't be a part of the North Atlantic Trade Organization. I just find that a deal breaker. So I would never agree to that. Putin ought to be smart enough, and I'm sure he is, to know that because of the relationship he has with Germany, because they're providing Germany with all of their fuel, gas and fuel, he knows Germany is never going to vote to have Ukraine to be a part of that.
Yeah. Let me ask a question. Let me, Brother Marcus, because we're coming up on the end of the hour, and we're going to hold this conversation over for the next segment. Georgia Fort won't be with us this morning, but I want to pose a similar question to you, Brother Marcus. If it is the case that the Ukrainian people, the majority of the Ukrainian people, want arms to defend themselves from Russia, would you support the people?
It's a great question.
I think that this question, right, is as far as like what's going on, and like absolutely yes, right. I'm a big supporter of the people. Like, is it necessarily like, oh, would arms be the first thing? I would much rather like give the needs of what because there's like this concern of, well, the Russians play with Ukrainian energy, they turn it off and on when they want. Well, I 100% know the United States has the capabilities to help Ukraine build their own sustainable energy grid. That can happen. It's just not going to happen because we built Javelins and F-35s instead. The same things that we want for our communities, which is not Javelin missiles, is the same things that I advocate for actually providing for other communities. And that's where I think this whole issue gets just misaligned, and it really just boils down into oil and gas markets, into now we're talking about war for oil again, and so
in the year of our Lord 20 and 22, right? In the year of our Lord 20 and 22, in the middle of a global pandemic, it wasn't enough that we have about 5 million, 6 million dead globally. Somebody correct me on the numbers. Change, we want to add on top crisis. Of it climate change to boot. Climate to boot. We got to throw on the potential of World War III. I'm going to go ahead and rebuke that one in the name of Jesus. DJ exclusive, if you're in the house, let's take it to a break. When we come back, we're going to unpack this conversation a little further. And I do want to talk about Joe Rogan because I think it has some significance to the global dialogue that's happening right now. We'll be back with more on the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show after this.
One step forward, 2 steps backwards, yeah. Immature lover who don't use big words, yeah. I don't need convincing at all because I know what I want. Baby, can't you figure it out? What's going on in your heart? What's it gonna take for you to love me? What's it gonna take for you to show me? I've been trying to take it slow, but my patience low. Think it's time you let me know. What's it gonna take for you to love me? Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Y'all hang tight real quick. I got having some technical system issues, and I have to restart my music Zoom. So y'all stay tuned. Dwayne, drop some good old music for these people, please.
I could really use a change of scenery. Yeah. Everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah. Close the match 'cause they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Pills to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside out, so right now. Say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time. Cheers to all the haters, cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you.
We're starting up next. Just remember, Georgia Ford is not here this morning, but you still got the crew here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Just say it with your chest now. Say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time. It's my time. It's my time to ride it out.
One step forward, two steps backwards, yeah.
There we go. Now we are
You're
cooking
much
with
your
Chris
lover,
Cole.
don't use
Good morning,
big
everybody.
words,
Good morning
yeah.
again. Hope y'all are enjoying the morning thus far. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. We got more coming up next. Shout out to everybody in the chat room this morning. Snack Panther, Shelby
Baby,
H.
can't you figure it
On and
out?
on it goes. Mama Gwen. Hey, Mama. Good morning to you. Shelby H. What's going on? It's coming short. On and on it goes. Susan Bradley. Alicia. Good morning. Brother Tiger. Good morning to you.
I've been trying to take
Truth the Dragon. Roll the Dragon. Good morning.
Think it's time you let me know. What's it gonna take for you to love me? Yeah.
One Source Productions. Good morning to you.
Yeah. Summer's over, still getting nowhere, yeah. If winter blows here, baby, I fear we gon' disappear. Do you even want me? Do you even worry that I'm gonna love somebody else?
So James R. Kaepernick chick said he used to be a fact checker during the Trump administration, but I lost that job on January 20, 2021. Aww.
What's it gonna take for you to show? Take for you to show.
You sound like you're a big Trump supporter, brother, in the wrong chat room, man. Iris Jones, good morning to you. What's going on?
Think it's time you let me know.
Brother Lateef, yep, good morning. That's the bro shit.
Take for you to love me. Yeah.
One Source Production, yes. I don't think he's a troll. I think he's a lonely soul still wishing he was in the Trump administration. Sorry to that man. Sorry to that man. Snack Panther, I want a dark matter lightsaber too. The dark saber, I want it and I shall have it.
Time's about run out.
FAL Claw Dragon, have you seen this little sketch with any reason? You know what? I'm gonna find that because I wouldn't mind playing that on the show. I would love that.
Baby, dig deep, it's time.
News and Shenanigans, that was Still Fly by Rebel Day.
What's it gonna take for you to love? Take for you.
Bryce Blackwell, good morning to you, brother.
What's it gonna take for you to show? Take for you to show me.
Greg and Lennon, good morning.
I've been trying to take it slow, but my patience low. Think it's time you let me know. What's it gonna take for you to love?
Lonely soul without a bowl. All right, y'all.
Yeah.
Brother Chuck Diesel, good morning, brother. Al Booker, good morning. Al Booker, good morning. Elephants are afraid of me. Good morning to you. Laura Estrada, good morning, darling. Anna, good morning to you.
Silent treatment in your cup, baby, we don't need to talk.
Indian Brown, what's going on? Laverne Rebels. Let me find out.
I'm just wondering where we
Related to Rebels.
I don't wanna face the consequences.
Bill Williams, good morning.
Baby, yeah, you know I hate second guessing. I'm just wondering where we are. Drifting into space,
Good morning,
keep driving
Anna.
on the freeway. Baby, let me know what
y'all. Y'all welcome back to the screen. My brother from another mother, Benjamin Dixon, brother Carl Mack.
Appreciate you, man. It is always necessary to have some music to hold us over in between. We have everybody on the screen there. Welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. Gentlemen, how are you this morning?
Cool in the game, Brother Ben and Brother Mark. It's good to see you.
It's always good to be here. Appreciate it. Hello, chat. And excited.
All that good stuff. DJ exclusive, brother from another mother. I want to recognize Georgia's not here today. And we're we're going to hold down the fort for her. No pun intended. We're on the clock, but we're not going to throw the media package. I just want to kind of continue the conversation from before, and I want to enhance the conversation because underlying this is the conversation in Ukraine really is a perspective of marginalized people in general, Black people. The conversation of Black voices on the international stage, in the international conversation. One of the things that I see, or rather I'm not seeing, are the voices of nuance in the national discourse. Here's something that blew me away, Brother Mac, and we have a whole bunch of other stories to get to, but I just want to dovetail the Ukraine conversation before we get to the rest of it. There is not a lot of conversation about the potential devastation, right? I do feel like our media here in the United States is playing a game of brinksmanship to the extent of I'm not hearing enough about the nuclear capabilities in this conversation. I treat Russia differently than almost any other conflict because of the potential of total war, for the potential of nuclear conflict, and because I don't think it's reasonable for us to assume that the global players are any more rational than our own, because some of our leaders, hell, if Donald Trump was in power, would any of us trust this moment to him? So I can't assume that we're dealing with rational actors. When we get into a conflict, we can't assume that rational heads are going to prevail. To borrow a phrase from my favorite television show, Doctor Who, when that first shot is fired, you have no idea who's going to die. You have no idea how far it's going to go. It seems to me that there should be a countervailing conversation that is vehemently advocating for peace, because we are dealing with the potential for World War III here.
I mean, Ben, make no mistake about it. The only country in the history of the world that ever dropped an atomic bomb is the United States, right? And so is that a possibility? I mean, when you start talking egos and the likes, I mean, just think about it from human nature standpoint, right? When we were kids growing up, we didn't have guns the way they got now. You got into an altercation, you handle it with fists. Then somebody decided one day to pull a knife. Next thing you know, somebody else pulled a gun, and now look where we are. So, when you're talking about rational minds and you got ego at play and human nature the way it is, trust and believe, if I got a big hammer, I'm going to use the big hammer. And in this case, all players involved, U.S., Russia, China, the thoughts of it are literally frightening. And I just pray, God, that it doesn't get to that point of World War III, because it would absolutely be catastrophic.
And Brother Marcus, this is the rub for me. This is where the conflict is in me, which is why to be honest with you, I'm glad to have all of you on the show, because you guys can help me flesh this out for myself. Because as much as I know, I want there to be peace. Sometimes great men on the international stage do not allow that peace to exist. And so therein lies the problem. If Putin does not allow there to be a peace, what are those of us who are like, damn it, we want peace at all costs? What are we to do?
Well, the question of what do we do? I think it's kind of complicated, because who's we? When you're describing we, who's we? Is it the United States government? Is it the left? Is it progressives and the left? Because right now, progressives.
Let's narrow it down to Black people. Or actually, don't limit it. Don't limit it. Do it in all the categories that you feel led. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So I'm saying if you're talking about the left, people who understand that this duopoly is not working for us, we don't get to do anything. At best, we could crowdfund some airline tickets, and here you go, my Ukrainian brother. You got a couch for a few months. All right. If you could get a work visa and help out on some bills, that's what we can do right now. You know, so what should be what should we do? I think advocating for diplomacy, and I think being able to just try and be more knowledgeable on what's happening on the global stage, but also not ever buying into the narratives, because if we know that cops lie, then why are we just going to feed into the narratives of the world police the same way? We gotta be able to start developing and hope, not only just our separate ideas that actually drive towards peace. And like I said, what are sustainable energy initiatives that would actually solve the energy problems?
That's right.
For the Ukrainian people,
Can we not get around the underlying problem?
So Brother Marcus, and I think this is a very fundamental question that I don't think we covered. But what is Putin's interest in Ukraine?
I mean, honestly, I think there is just a lot of money in it. There's a lot of money of getting more coastline and getting more access to the Black Sea. I understand where Putin is saying outwardly, hey, there was the Civil War, which the conflicts is still going on. Some of these groups involved consider themselves like Russian, right? And he plays into those things. He plays into the history of Russia, of how many times it's gotten invaded through Ukraine, right? He plays into these narratives. But what is the goal? Enrichment. Out of all of the things that Putin does that is absolutely fucking terrible, what's consistent through all? Him and the oligarchs get more money and power, and it does not matter whatever U.S. sanctions is goes on. So we really need to start
safely outside of it. Yeah.
What is something that we can start building? What are organizations and structures we can start building so that we can actually do something? I'm all about that conversation. But we're right now sitting back and saying, well, it's either javelins or nothing, and that's just not a good conversation to have.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Brother Mac, I think that's a great question. I have some thoughts into what I think Putin actually wants here, but I know for the sake of time, we'll dovetail that a little bit more. I want this to be an ongoing conversation. I need us to not allow the idiocy of oversimplification to infect this conversation, because there is nuance. And it's going to make people like me. I'm uncomfortable. You can't tell me to be OK with sending American weapons to Ukraine. That's anathema to me. However, you can also not tell me that we should ignore the people of Ukraine, because I know for a fact that there are very real people who absolutely want to stand up against Putin. So we'll expand on this conversation day by day, little by little, and we'll have more guests. Brother Marcus, thank you so much for joining us. Before I go to this next story, Brother Marcus, tell everyone where and how and when they can listen and support your work.
So on twitch.tv/leftflankvets, today I'll be on at 2. Thursday, and then going forward, I'm actually gonna be starting around noontime, but just doing my Capitol Hill stream, in which case we do a very detailed look as what's the workings of the U.S. government for the day, and then also we stream at night, especially Tuesdays and Saturdays for sure. And then also Left Link Bets on Twitch or Twitter, excuse me, if you want to see our ridiculous memes.
I love the memes. Honestly, I'm here for the memes. And I need to find you on Facebook because full transparency, sometimes I steal your memes from Twitter and I take them to Facebook because I don't have them on Facebook,
we stopped messing with Facebook, we're on a very limited crew.
I'm seizing the memes.
There are memes, comrade.
And Brother Marcus,
I am seizing the memes up. Go ahead, Brother Beck.
And Brother Marcus, let me just say, I certainly appreciate learning as much as I can from you and Brother Starr. I think the insight that you bring is very thought-provoking, certainly gives a level of understanding. And I just want to say how much I appreciate your body of work and bringing this conversation to our folks.
And Brother Mac, I appreciate. I mean, I was thinking, I was like, man, it's like talking with my dad or my uncle, which is like, you can disagree, we could talk through these things, right? It's like, and even not that we're disagreeing, we're just trying to bounce ideas off each other until we can get to a better answer. And so thank you all for just giving me the opportunity to do that with you this morning.
Always,
that's right. Damn right. That's what Brother Terrell Starr said when I spoke to him this morning. I guess it was afternoon for them. This space is intentionally about being willing to change our minds in mid-sentence, if necessary. If at any point in our conversations we come across a new truth, one thing I love about Brother Mac, I love about this whole crew, is that we respond to the truth. And that allows for a healthy discourse, because it's not about our egos. It's about the truth. And this is going to require a hard shift, because the truth is, Brother Marcus, I want to get your opinion on this next story. Brian Flores is suing the NFL. Brother Mac, you dropped that story to us yesterday, and I have a clip of it. Do you want to talk about it before I drum the clip, or do you want me to just drop the clip?
No, please drop the clip, and know that the story was actually relayed to me by our good friend, Dr. Lydia Patton. She's like, Dr. Mac, you got to talk about this. You and Ben got to talk about this. Okay, Dr. Patton, here we go.
Here we go. Dwayne, run the clip so we can get up to date on what's happening with this lawsuit.
As sports fans across the land salute a retiring legend of football, the league he exits has just been slapped with a lawsuit containing allegations that, if proved, could shake the very foundation of the NFL and some of its most storied franchises. The accusation on the first day of Black History Month: systemic racism in the NFL, and specifically racism in hiring. The target, the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, the Denver Broncos, and the New York Giants, plus what the suit calls John Doe teams, number 1 to 29. In other words, all of them, indicating he hopes others will join to form a class action suit. The man filing it, the former head coach of the Dolphins, Brian Flores. The suit says Mr. Flores has determined that the only way to effectuate real change is through the courts, where the NFL's conduct can be judged by a jury of Mr. Flores' peers, a judgment that is long overdue. The 58-page document filed late this afternoon in the Southern District of New York, chock full of explosive allegations. Among them, discrimination in Coach Flores' interview process with the Broncos and the Giants, and in his termination from the Dolphins just last month. Further, he says the Miami owner, Stephen Ross, wanted him to lose games on purpose so that the Dolphins could get the number 1 draft pick. That owner, Ross, offered Coach Flores $100,000 per loss. But Flores says as his team instead racked up wins late in the 19 season, the Dolphins general manager told him the owner's mad that the team is winning. The Dolphins released a statement denying the allegations. Flores alleges the Giants scheduled a sham interview with him to comply with what's known as the Rooney Rule, a requirement that teams interview minority candidates for big jobs. Coach Brian Flores released his own statement saying, "In making the decision to file the class action complaint today, I understand that I may be risking coaching the game that I love, and that has done so much for my family and me. My sincere hope is that by standing up against systemic racism in the NFL, others will join me to ensure that positive change is made for generations to come."
Now, before we discuss, I have to just pause and give Shepard Smith some credit. That was a phenomenal summary of everything that's going on. And he's formerly of Fox News. He's now with CNBC. Not a fan in general, but shout out to him for that summary. Brother Mac.
Well, first of all, let's get into a little bit of who Brian Flores is, and talk about a man who has worked has worked his craft to put himself in a position. So when you go back to 04-05, he was literally an assistant scout. The following year, he became a pro scout, and I'm gonna take my glasses because I want to get all of this in. So from 06 to 07, he became a pro scout. Then he joined the coaching staff of the Patriots. He was special team assistant from 2008 to 2009. In 2010, he became the assistant offensive coordinator and special teams coach. Then he became the defensive assistant in 2011, safeties coach 2012, 2015, linebackers coach 2016, 2018, and then in 2019 became coach of the Miami Dolphins. Now, with Belichick in that system, he won 4 Super Bowls with that team. Now, one of the things that was left out of here, which is an absolute poison pill, is let's go back to the situation with the New York Giants. When he was interviewing, he was contacted by the Giants, and I believe he was contacted by the Giants on the 18th via a Zoom meeting. Now, according to the Rooney Rule, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the Rooney Rule came in, but the Rooney Rule, which was the owner of the Steelers, said, look, you must interview at least 2 minority candidates whenever these head coaching positions come about. And there's a reason why that Rooney Rule came into play, and I'll cover that in a minute. So on the January 18th meeting, via Zoom, they then scheduled an in-person meeting because according to the Rooney Rule, that interview has to be in person. So the interview for him was supposed to take place on January 27th. And here is the absolute bombshell, is that having worked under Bill Belichick, before January 27th occurred, Belichick, now keep in mind the coach that the Giants hired is Brian Daboll. We're talking Brian Flores, Brian Daboll. So Belichick sent a text message to Brian. He thought it was Brian Daboll congratulating him before Brian Flores had the interview. He sent a text message to him saying, congratulations on your hire as the Giants. And then Brian Flores responded, wait a minute. What do you mean, congratulations? I haven't had my interview yet. And Belichick replied, oh, man, forgive me, I effed up.
Oh, he
to
did,
the point.
Wow.
So part of what Black coaches have said, and we've all said this, that in order to validate the process of the Rooney Rule, we're going to give the appearance that we're taking you serious. But in this case, before he ever interviewed, the Giants, at least Belichick knew that the Giants had already offered Brian Daboll this job. So Brian Flores goes in on the 27th, conducts his interview. The next day, Brian Daboll is named as the Giants head coach. Now, as it applies to the Dolphins, remember what he said, that when he was hired in 2019, the owner offered him $100,000 per loss because they wanted to get they wanted to move up in the draft to get to get this high-ranking quarterback in the draft. Now, the other thing that Flores said that the Dolphins owner did was he wanted him to go out and recruit a, quote, prominent quarterback. And Flores, understanding his ethics, that's considered tampering, said, no, I'm not going to do it. So then the owner of the Dolphins invited Flores to his yacht. And when he got to the yacht, when Flores arrived, he told him, oh, there's an impromptu visit by a prominent quarterback. Soon as he told Flores that, Flores left the yacht and said, no, I'm not going to be a part of it. So then he continued on with his winnings. And so I need you to understand what his record was. The first year they hired him, he was 5-11 in 2019. The next year he went 10-6 in 2020. And then in 21, he went 9-8. So he had a combined record of 24-25. Now, as it applies to the Denver Broncos, when he went to interview with Denver to show you how they were just simply trying to validate the process and said, okay, we brought him in. Flores reports that when Elway and the executives came in, they were all drunk and they admitted that they had been drinking. And he said that they showed up over an hour late. And of course, then the Broncos in 2019 hired a guy named Vic.
Brother Mac, you got all the receipts. Oh, you got the receipts on the receipts on the receipts.
Big fat.
Let me ask a question before we'll finish that thought because I have a couple questions. Go ahead.
So they hired Big Fat Joe. So Fat Joe, the same time, 2019, to current, his record in Denver is 19 wins, 30 losses versus Flores, 24 wins, 25 losses.
Right.
Now, understand that the NFL started in 1920. And at the time it started, it was called the American Professional Football Association. And that morphed over into the NFL. The first year.
All right, we got about 2 minutes here, Brother Mac. Go ahead.
Okay, the first year that the NFL started, there was a black coach by the name of Fritz Pollard who coached the Akron Indians. And he coached them to the World Championship. So between that time and 1988, there was not one black coach hired. And in 1988, the Raiders then hired Art Shell. Since 1988 until today, there's been less than 24 black coaches. And today, in a league that is made up of 70% black players,
that's right.
There's only one black head coach. And so in the 100,
Brother Mac, let me hold you there real quick, only because I want to get Brother Marcus in on this part before we get to the top of the hour. That is reflective of America, right? And it's reflective of America where you have white ownership, white management, black labor. And Brother Marcus, before we come up in the hour, and I know you got to get out of here, I just wanted to see your thoughts on all of this because, one, the ridiculousness, Brother Mac, you gave us so much there, the ridiculousness of Belichick's mistake. I just got to note that, isn't it ironic that all of this is going to come out because he don't know how to read who he's sending his text messages to, first and foremost. And then second of all, Marcus, I just want your thoughts on that labor aspect, because what Brother Mac is saying, historically, we are at a junction, go for it.
No, and this is where I think the players are really going to have to come out in solidarity because, and really too, it's in their own self-interest because how does John Elway, right? He got, how many concussions did John Elway get? But he can still be able to go on and manage the team, and he's not seen to be having any cognitive ability decline, or anything like that. But because, I can't remember what the rule is called, but they have this the race rule.
Rooney rule.
Well, no, not for hiring. But for the how to look at mental health screenings, and there was a race rule saying that black people didn't have a good enough cognitive ability going into playing for them to have enough damage for us to actually pay for their mental health.
Right. It went into the calculation for the lawsuit, the settlement. Yes, thank you. There you go. Go ahead, Brother Marcus.
So I think 100%. I think college athletes and they're starting to get a little more hey, we're kind of getting messed over here, especially when you talk about, the highest paid state employee is always the head coach of the state university. The players got to really start organizing with themselves in a manner outside of what they're already doing. Like the NFL. Yes, there is the players union, but if you compare it to what the NBA's union can do, NBA gets guaranteed money, so it's kind of strange that there's not even that crossover there. But I think it also needs to go down to college sports as well. But this should be the blaring obvious thing, that athletes should be able to look at and saying, I might want to be a head coach someday, right? But and it's literally all it just says, well, I might be the best linebacker that ever played the game, but if I'm black, I'm never going to be a linebacker coach.
Brother, Steve, this is the part, Brother Mac, that throws me, right? It throws me because you have presented in all that you were giving us, as I was listening to all the elements that you're outlining, you're giving us almost a statistical analysis showing that this dude was a better coach. Right. That's what I heard you making the case for, or at least a competitive coach. And then what I heard, and I would like for you to expound on this, what I heard was reflective of my experiences, too, in media, in journalism. It's almost as if they just want our faces in order to check that box. Right. That diversity and inclusion box. And then when they need someone to take a fall, then by all means, they'll compensate us on our way down.
And trust and believe in that sense of just bringing a coach in to validate the process, which is what many black coaches have talked about. That email from that text message from Belichick was as clear of an example of that, as much proof as one would ever need. Now, keep in mind what I said, Ben, is that in the 100-year history, given its horrid record, the NFL has never been sued. Now, I believe that Flores is going to sue them according to Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And what that act says is that a player must first be a person must first to bring that lawsuit. You have to be a member of the protected class, number one. Number two, you have to apply and be qualified for the position that you're going after, which clearly he is. And then number three, after you're rejected, you have to look and see if the position is filled with a person with the similar qualifications. But here's where it's interesting. When you go down through the items of proof, one of the things that they said is, statistically speaking to what you said, can a person that's bringing a lawsuit present evidence related to the NFL's history of not hiring black coaches? It is clear that the NFL has an absolute problem, because from a percentage standpoint, Mike Tomlin represents 3.1%. That's one head coach. And now think about this. Urban Meyer is coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Not anymore. Yeah. He's gone.
His record
he's out of there.
It was 2 and what? Awful. But not only did they bring him in, and he's not qualified, but then what's the first thing he does?
He run up into some club with some girl.
No. He brings his college quarterback, who ain't played him forever, Tim Tebow, in to see if
my God, I forgot about that part.
So the other thing that they talk about is that as part of proving it, are black coaches given the same levels of opportunity to be successful as their white counterparts? So trust and believe, just from a statistical standpoint, and if other black coaches come in, along with that Bill Belichick email, trust and believe they have all the proof they need to say that even though you have the Rooney Rule, and let me tell you how the Rooney Rule came in. So Fritz Pollard, there's an organization that is entitled, give me 1 second. That organization is entitled the Fritz Pollard Alliance. So in the early 2000s, they decided to bring a lawsuit against the NFL because of the lack of black coaches. And instead of litigating this and taking it to court, that's when Rooney came up with the Rooney Rule to say, look, instead of us going to court, let us make a rule right now that for every head coaching position that comes up, we will bring in minority candidates. That's where that rule came in, because they was threatened with a lawsuit. Now, in this case, the thing that I loved about what Flores said, Flores says, I know that what I'm doing is probably going to be a death nail to my God-given ability as a coach. But change must come up. And if I have to be the sacrificial lamb for this, so be it. But Brother Marcus, to your point, when you got a league, a labor force that is 70% black players, right now, black players of the NFL, you didn't rally around Kaepernick the way you should have, because you know that what the NFL owners was doing was collusion. You know it was collusion. And now you're watching a very talented black head coach. You're watching group of white owners who absolutely, you know what they're doing. And black players trust and believe.
That's right.
You can make a change today. I'm talking, give me 2 seconds. Get on Twitter and say the NFLPA, represented by 70% of black players, we will not take that field unless this gets solved quick and in a hurry. Trust and believe them billionaires, because there is not one team in the league, those 32 teams, every one of those teams is over $1 billion. And trust and believe, if the black players united, remember the Ali Summit, remember when you left Colin Kaepernick out there hanging. You very easily could have done something. And if you turn your back on this brother and all the other brothers in the head coaching position, shame on you. Shame on all of you.
We got to talking about foosball here, and when you start talking about foosball, the conversation gets deep. Dwayne, make sure the people can hear you and jump in there. We're going to keep this portion going until Rebecca Azor is ready for Like It or Not. Y'all just give me the signal when she's in the house, and Like It or Not will go down. Dwayne, talk to us about some foosball, brother.
So it's a lot. I mean, a lot of what Dr. Mack was saying, absolutely. But I have to kind of push back a little bit, Dr. Mack. Okay. As far as the players doing, we saw what happened with Kaepernick, right? We saw they wouldn't even kind of stick together to take a knee with him. So we really expect them. We should expect them to, but I don't think it's going. I don't think that happens. I don't think this problem is actually solved until there's more black ownership in the even any black ownership in the league. Because as well as I do, it's that good old boys club forever, that old money that's in there. And they're not trying to give it, because just like you said, this happens to coaches every single year, all the time. To replace Urban Meyer down in Jacksonville, they were brought in Byron Leftwich, who's been with the Buccaneers, black guy, played for the Jaguars. He came in, good interview. It was reported that he gonna be the next head coach. But then the next day? No, he's not going to be the head coach yet because we got this money issue to work out. Come on, so contract issues to work out. Same thing. No. It's been reported all year that there's going to be another black guy in the running for the Broncos head coach job, because that coach you were talking about got fired. Mm-hmm. What they do? They went and hired the white dude from the Packers, one of their coordinators, who nobody was even really talking about, but they did it to try to get Aaron Rodgers to come over there. So it's another thing. And none of this stuff changes until there's owners that are black.
Well, Dwayne, let me give you pushback here. One of the highest high school recruits in the country said to hell with the PWIs, and he went to a HBCU, a young man by the name of Travis Hunter, because Primetime was able to recruit him. Things can happen. These players just simply have to become socially conscious, stand up, just the same way that you've seen players in the NBA do it. And you know that the NFL is ready for this, because now there was a time when that uniform was sacred. And on the heels of the murder of George Floyd and the uproar in this country, we watched the NFL allow players to put whatever they wanted on the back of their helmet. We're all united, end racism, Black Lives Matter. Trayvon Martin. You could put anything on the back of that helmet you want to. So I am not going to buy in. But hold on, Dr. Mack. Aren't ready. They just got to be stirred up a little bit.
Hold on, Dr. Mack.
Right here on the Ben Dixon Show, we're here to stir them up, like it or not.
Yeah, we can stir them up. We can stir them up all we want, though. But listen, the NFL allowed all that show of stuff to be put on the back of. They singing. It
was a show.
They singing our Lift Every Voice at football games and stuff. Now, it's a show. They gonna give us. They gonna give us everything that we want to see, but they're not gonna really do the change in the background to make it happen. Like I hear you. The NBA players, they are stronger together. They got a stronger union. It's way more difficult going up against that old white money. The NBA is way more progressive.
They really are.
I'm simply saying it. So Brother Marcus talked about it when we talked about the Greensboro Four, and we were talking about Brother Lawson, who was the mentor of the Nashville sit-in movement. He had a plan together. See, right now, since Roger Goodell wants to go listen to Jay-Z, lend your voice to this situation. All of you players, lend your voice to it. And trust and believe, Marcus, I'm telling you right now, the one thing that the NFL would hate at this point, they survived the racism that was the whole kneeling with Colin Kaepernick. They survived the pandemic. And because of what Pete Rozelle did way back when he convinced those rich owners, especially those in big markets, to now go into revenue sharing. And he said, if we go into revenue sharing, we're going to make these smaller teams more competitive. And arguably, we've seen some of the best playoff football this year than I've ever seen in my life. Trust and believe they're ready to do what's in their best interest, because if the forces at B come, if Roger Goodell thinks that Jay-Z can bring some cultural understanding to the game, these black players bring a cultural understanding, trust and believe those white owners, they will acquiesce quick and in a hurry.
Actually, let me. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance because apparently foosball is of course I know how these conversations go. I want to go to Brother Marcus to make sure you can get in there, then back to Dwayne, and then DJ Exclusive. We're going to come to you to say whatever you want to say and then give us some music as we get ready to prepare for Like It or Not. Brother Marcus.
I guess too is like the only pushback I would say, against Dwayne. I'm happy that me and Brother Mac have been able to join forces on an issue. But I think it's not just about like black ownership. I think that's something that gets sold a lot. There's a lot of black billionaires around. There's a lot of black rich people, but we're still in the same place as far as black working class people. I think where things need to go in order to actually be equitable rules, like players should have a choice. Players should have an option to vote.
Yes.
At least some sort of opportunity to get their say in who coaches them. And this is actually something that I'd first heard about this type of elected leadership, outside of politics, was within the UK military. Who gets promoted and who leads unit is actually voted on by the people in the unit.
Brilliant.
And that seems like we could just, if only players voted for who's going to be the next coach, would we be sitting at one black coach right now? No. If they got the actual people doing the job got to say, hey, this is who I think is best to lead me, would it only be one black coach right now in the NFL? I would say no.
Democracy.
I don't think so.
Democratization.
I don't think so. But
Go ahead, Brother Dwayne.
It's hard to have that democracy when I don't think they're ever going to give any of the players that kind of vote to decide on who's the big money players, the face of the franchise. They have some say in that stuff, but the rest of the team as a whole isn't going to have that say because these, especially football, these contracts are 2 and 3 years. Somebody might be in the league for 8 months and then be kind of done with it. So I don't think you get that from that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Dwayne and DJ. I know, but think about what we just talked about for Black History today. We talked about the fire that was ignited by 4 young freshmen who decided enough is enough. Mm-hmm. It's just hard for me. My spirit won't allow me to believe that these players cannot make a change. These 4 young men, based on what they did, set a course in our history that absolutely brought about a change. I refuse to believe that these players can't do that.
Okay.
The question is, it ain't about can they
exactly?
The question is, will they?
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the thing. I totally agree with you on that, Dr. Mack. I believe they can if they really wanted to. But there's so many more factors at play because just like you talked about the boy going to Jackson State, he's going away from the big PWI, the Power 5 school, but he knows that he's still getting a little bit of money now from the name and likeness thing that you can have now. But he knows that I can still go to Jackson State. This is going to be good for my people, but I'm still going to get my shot at the NFL to get to the big game.
That's right.
So that it doesn't really affect him as much to get there. Once they end the league, we saw I really wish they would go ahead and make that change. What you saw with Kaepernick, there were certain people standing with him, but as the whole, they didn't really stand with him like that. And I think it's partly because those like we talked about, those contracts aren't guaranteed. Like in the NBA, the players are more apt to speak out and to have these because they know I already got paid. As soon as I signed my contract, that $80 million that was guaranteed to me, I got that. So I cannot play for a while. These football players.
Contract or no contract, if there is a complete walkout of 70% of your players in the league, trust and believe, contract or no contract, those owners are going to do the right thing. It will change.
Power politics.
I don't know. It can happen. It can happen.
Gentlemen, let me hold it. Let me hold it there. I want to give it to DJ. I want to give it to DJ Exclusive. Jump in there, DJ Exclusive. Take us to a break because I got to stretch my legs. I know y'all are young, but I've been sitting here for an hour and I need to go. I need to walk. So DJ Exclusive, give us some music. Get your thought in there. And when we come back, we'll be joined by Rebecca Azor for Like It or Not. Marcus from Left Flank Bets. Y'all please check out his show. I love the brother's work. Brother, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Later today, y'all come on my stream. We'll just argue about this. We got hours. We know time limit.
That's a date. I like that. Let's do that. All right, man. We'll be back. after this.
Always stay up all night.
I got to stretch.
Y'all see how Ben just said, fuck my shit, huh? Anyway, y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Make my shit during the break, goddamn it. That's okay. I can't believe somebody broke into my house and stole all of my fruit. I am peachless. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned.
Stay in this moment, just hold on, hold on. We back tonight, babe, tomorrow, let's go.
Oh, I am, Dwayne. You know I am. God damn it.
It's alright. It's all
Cause shit now, I'm gonna get Dr. Mac to shut the hell up and Ben to shut the hell up. Shit.
I know I'm alright when I look into your eyes. Give it to me, funky, funky, give it to me. Give it to me, funky, funky, give it to me. Give it to me, funky, funky, give me that beat, that funky, funky. Give it to me, funky, funky, give me that beat, that funky, funky. Give it to me, funky, funky, give it to me.
Mama Bina, good morning to you.
Give it to me, baby. Face towards the stars. Feel my beating heart. All up in my zone. Why let this go?
All right, y'all. We got some new Patreon members and new Twitch subscribers that we're gonna get read off real quick. Shout out to Sean F, who doubled their pledge. S. Gainer, Quint W, we appreciate you. Good morning to you. William Martin, good morning to you, brother. Scott S, who joined the Lion Patreon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. New Twitch subscribers, we got Chicken Fried Dragon, who resubscribed and commented. Good morning, Lion fam. Love y'all. And they've been subscribed for over 10 months. Shout out Chicken Fried Dragon. Log off already. Ended our channel with a party of 11 viewers. Log off already, man. We appreciate you. Agnostic Sister Shield, 200 bits. Agnostic Sister Cheer, 200 bits on Twitch, man. If you are not a member yet, patreon.com/likeitnornot, patreon.com/the BPD show. Y'all make sure y'all join, man. Get in here, get access to these Asian parties and everything. Y'all don't want to miss it. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Like it or not, it's coming up next. Oh, Lily, we are praying for you, Lily. Prayers up to you, all right? And good morning to you. Y'all, I was horrified when my wife told me that my 6-year-old son wasn't actually mine. Apparently, I need to pay more attention during school. Brenda Johnson, good morning.
Just give me my crown, let the king take his throne. I like to groove it. He likes to groove it. You're gonna move it. You're gonna move it.
Laura, I appreciate you.
Like 1, 2, 3. Clap your hands. Just clap them for me. Give them a clap. Like 1, 2, 3.
Soul by Motor City Classics. Laura Schreiber, you're right. It does sound like everybody on the floor. Everybody do that dinosaur. Right. Juanita, good morning. And Dwayne, that's not a bad idea at all, man. Yeah, it's not a bad idea at all, bro. If you got some time, man, I might give you like an hour or two if you need some music.
I've been thinking. I've been thinking.
Hey, like
I've been
real,
thinking.
man. I
I've been
think that'll be good.
thinking. I've been
It's
thinking.
different.
I've been thinking about you. 아무리 고개 흔들어도 난 네 생각만 하고 있을 뿐. 아무리 딴짓해봐도 난 너의 목소리만 들릴 뿐. 있으면 내 here with me. 가득 심장이면 please tell me. 빨리 고백해볼까? 눈 감고 말해볼까? 미치겠어 only you. 이런 밤 처음이야. 너무 설레기 전날. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about you, boy. Yeah. All I think about is you, boy. All I think about is yeah. All I think about is you, boy. All I think about is 내 맘에는 사람 손으로 하여 우리 눈엔 완벽한
This is called I've Been Thinking. This is by Off the Grid.
우리 눈엔 완벽한 lov을 다가가도 괜찮겠지 다른 애들보다 내가 훨씬 단단하게 걸어가면 다들 속작 My confidence is shooting through the roof 아무리 고개 흔들어도 난 네 생각만 하고 있을 뿐 아무리 딴짓해봐도 난 너의 목소리만 들릴 뿐 있으면 내 here with me 가득 심장이면 please tell me 빨리 고백해볼까 눈 감고 말해볼까 미치겠어 only you
9 a.m. to 10:30, yeah. Like it or not, is on your channel, yeah. Politics and culture, it's we change skin like we supposed to, yeah. Interviews and all the news, we get to choose what gets the views. Like it or not, with Queen Azora, get started now, so stick around. Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Rebecca Azor is coming through. You know she got a good story for you. Oh, Benjamin, that's my dog. This is his show. He's a politics bro. I am your DJ exclusive. Y'all know who I am. Let's take them jams. Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, like it or not, it's starting now. Like it or not.
Filed a class action lawsuit against the NFL alleging discrimination against black head coaches and executives. The suit, filed in the Southern District of New York, claims the Giants interviewed Flores for their head coaching position, despite having already chosen Brian Dabble for the job.
No, I didn't.
Flores maintains his interview was a sham in order to comply with the NFL's Rooney Rule, which compels teams to interview minority candidates for head coaching and GM jobs. Mr. Flores was forced to sit through a dinner with Joe Schoen, the Giants' new general manager, knowing that the Giants had already selected Mr. Dabble, the suit reads. Much worse, on Thursday, January 27th,
I think, honestly, gentlemen, welcome back to the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. I honestly think Dwayne did that on purpose because he did not want to let this conversation go. You can't get black men talking about football and expect us to be able to get off of it in one segment. But
So what you're saying is
the
that
way
was Dwayne coming
my
and
hips
going,
are
"We're going
worked
to
out,
do
I
this."
gotta get up, man. I've been sitting too long. My legs, I'm
Ben,
getting
shut
old,
the hell
so I
up. You ain't
appreciate-
old. Shut the hell up. Dr. Mac 60. I'm 44. About to be 43. About to be 44 with a whole hip replacement, and I be sitting here a whole goddamn hour too. Ben, shut the hell up.
Okay, I had to go stretch my legs,
We
James.
know you had to go
James, I
use
had
the
to go-
bathroom. It's okay to say it on air. If y'all heard me take a poop on air, Ben, you can say I gotta go use the bathroom.
No, it's not that at all.
Do me
What
a
I'm
favor,
saying, though.
mute Ben and Dr. Mac for me, Ben, so I can get my point across this Dwayne too.
got you,
What I
Bubba.
was gonna
Hold
say
on,
in the
hold on,
last
hold on.
segment was
Jesus
that
Christ.
it
Hold on, real quick.
depends.
Hold on, Bubba,
Okay.
real quick. I definitely didn't mean to do that because you had the whole new version of the morning show song going, and I'm like, oh shoot, my cue coming up, and I hit the button. I had the wrong thing queued up. I had the wrong video queued up to play. So when it started playing, I said, oh damn. Ben was like, oh, you did
Dude,
like, no, I don't even
but
know what this
here's-
is, Ben. I
here's
just
the
wanted
funny
to use
thing.
this as B-roll.
I said, let it keep running. I let it keep running because here's the thing, James, if you notice, and I know you got your point to get in here, we're going to give you the floor, man. I'm going to give you the floor. But the beat from James is, if you go back and listen to it, I thought it was a remix. I thought you were over there making a remix to Rebecca's song. And then at the end of the day, it was Dwayne running the wrong clip. Serendipitously,
Ben,
it's the right
Ben, that
clip,
was
James,
me.
because it's your turn to speak.
Yeah, no, that was
Ben,
him. Yeah.
Ben, that was me. I know what I was doing over here.
I messed up his whole flow with that, playing the wrong clip.
So you had a third beat. There was a third beat going in then. That's insane.
It's a
Okay, they
second
were all
beat.
in
It was only
sync
two
though.
beats.
There
It was only
was
two
a
beats.
third beat. There was a music. There was the music from the video that you were playing. But anyway, I digress. The point is, we're here. I wanted to move off of football, but Dwayne made a mistake, and now here we are. DJ Exclusive, you had something to say. Go for it.
I forgot what it is now. Dwayne. You like I did that, Dwayne, didn't you? I forgot what it is now.
I hate every single one of you. Dwayne for the mistake.
That's why you let me get the shit in before we go to break. Goddamn it. Goddamn, I be doing like 1,000 things like Dwayne be doing. And if you get me to do something else and I'm over here doing a whole full ass remix.
I'm doing the best I can.
I
I understand. It happens to me. It happens to me. It happens to me all the time. Go ahead, Brother Mac. Go ahead, Brother Mac. Hey, man, look, bro. It's the year of our Lord 2022. Go ahead, Brother Mac.
Yeah, I certainly want to go back to it because, again, this isn't really about football to me as much as it's about, what America does, when they try to validate a process. And the thing that resonated with me the most about this story was Brian Flores, because as I was reading and researching it, before I get to his final statement, I'm thinking to myself, this brother has put a nail in his coffin as a coach. And then at the end, he says, look, God has given me a talent to be a great coach. And I know the risk that I'm taking in my college, my coaching career may very well be over. But this change has to take place. And if it comes at my expense, so be it, so that others won't have to go to it. That has been the spirit of Black folk from the time we've been in this country. There are so many that have sacrificed. And I'm simply saying that with all that we have at our disposal today, this brother does not need to be a sacrificial lamb. And I love the earnestness and the authenticity of his spirit in speaking that. And God works in some beautiful and wonderful ways. So for Belichick to send that email, for both of them, the first name be Brian, and I think we've all have done that. If you think somebody with the same name, you send a text message to the wrong person. So God is a beautiful God. So to be able, for Belichick, to be able to say, hey, Brian, congratulations on the Giants head coaching position.
That's
thinking
funny.
It's Brian Dablo, and instead Brian Flores is like, wait a minute, I haven't even interviewed yet. It was only after he interviewed and realized that they just hired the other guy, he realized Belichick thought that he was sending this to the other guy.
Hold on, Dr. Mac.
Go ahead there,
and
Dwayne.
I totally agree with what you were saying about, like, yes, he shouldn't be the sacrificial lamb, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But as far as Bill Belichick goes, Bill Belichick is one of the most calculated, clever, brilliant individuals in the NFL. I really don't think that was an accident. And if you look at Boston might not be the most progressive place, but Belichick and the owner Robert Kraft of the Patriots, he done had his little scandals and stuff too, but he has not shied away from black issues. He was the one down there with Meek Mill, even though I think that was a show too, down there helping get Meek Mill out of jail. So I really don't think it was an accident that Belichick stirred this up.
And Dwayne, I will tell you this. That thought crossed my mind that Belichick could have sent that on purpose. And I was waiting and trying to listen to see if Belichick would come out and say something. So that's not far-fetched what you just said as to whether or not it was intentional to send it. Because trust and believe, from a lawsuit standpoint, you want to talk about a smoking gun. They now have it because the thing that black coaches have been saying is that, it looked nice when you instituted the Rooney Rule. But again, they instituted the Rooney Rule to avoid a lawsuit of this very nature. And now black coaches have been saying, all you doing is bringing us in. You have no intentions of doing it. And now Denver, John Elway and his executives come to the meeting drunk. Admittedly, they're drunk. And according to Flores, they show up over an hour late. But of course, Denver is saying, no, we were there on time. We interviewed you for 3.5 hours. We stand by our process. This is similar to when a police writes his report and the public wants to believe exactly what that lying thug cop says. And now we got the evidence that maybe that ain't the case. What these black coaches have been saying all along. And many of us, we go into an interview. Next thing you know, they just want to validate the process and say, hey, we interviewed Carl for the position, knowing damn well you have no intentions of hiring me. So I agree. I just really hope that the players, fall into the spirit of a Bill Russell, of a Jim Brown, a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when they surrounded Ali around that Ali summit. I just hope that they could do it because certainly I'm disappointed in the way that we did not rally around Kaepernick, knowing we should have, because there are quarterbacks in the league right now that were in the league.
So what is there even a disagreement amongst us then? Because it sounds like everybody agrees on this.
I think my only disagreement would be that, yes, it's definitely possible for the players to do that, but I don't think it's very probable that will happen.
Agreed.
And only because of what we've seen, and because of the fact that, so if you take these black kids playing football whose contracts aren't guaranteed, who the shelf life of an average football player is 2 to 3 to 4 years, and you say, hey, come stand for this issue where you may lose the chance to provide your family with generational wealth that your family has never seen before, and take 2 years out in your prime to come stand up for this. I don't think you have that same possibility of that happening of say the NBA, because those NBA players, you got your money. As Major League Baseball, as soon as you sign these contracts, you got your money. So yes, while it would be awesome if the players could band together to do that, I just don't see them getting enough of them to do it, because you're gonna have people that'll cross the picket lines and come play, because you're not gonna get enough to totally shut down the league.
That's right.
But Dwayne,
you're not gonna shut down the league.
Some of these NFL contracts, when they're signed, that bonus money is paid up front, like in the case of Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, but
he got money up front.
Those are the minority, though. If you look at, there's 53 players on every NFL team. Right. I can tell you that probably 30 of them are barely making it, and those 30 might not be in the league more than 2 years. So if you can take the top,
This
people,
sounds familiar.
You know what I mean? And it's just a way, and then it grows the dissension between these guys that will stand and the ones that's like, nah, I can't really do it. They just pitting us against each other.
Yeah, but see,
especially in the NFL,
there's been enough change, and for me, from the position I sit in, would I have ever thought that in my lifetime I would have saw the election of a black president? No. In my lifetime, did I ever think that I would see a day when a cop would be escorted out of a courtroom in handcuffs for killing a black man? No. Would I ever have thought that a top high school athlete would choose a historical black college or university over PWI? No. I've seen these things happen. And I think even with Prime Time going to a HBCU, he is slowly but surely changing the game. And I think that there's a consciousness that is hitting these athletes right now. And so I am holding out hope that enough of us, Ben, I need you to get on Twitter and say, what are you as black athletes going to do when you make up 70% of the workforce and black head coaches only make up 3.1%? Somebody needs to tweet, and something like that can go viral. So Dwayne, as much as I understand the challenges that we as a people have had in this country, I am of the utmost belief that changes are coming. I can feel it in the, I can feel it.
And I understand, Dr. Matt, that you feel it coming, but I don't think it's coming anytime soon. Unfortunately, I really don't think it's coming anytime soon. And I do understand that these kids did choose to go to the HBCU, but let's take into account too. Let's think if Deion Sanders wasn't coaching the HBCU football team.
But he is. But let's take into account that he wasn't. Then here it is. These kids would still be going to these PWIs so they can try to get into the NFL. And I'm glad that they did choose the HBCUs. But honestly, I don't think it will make a huge difference in the NFL, because once they get into the NFL, it's going to be the same thing all over again.
Dwayne, pull. I don't know if his maybe his camera went out. Go. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. Go ahead, Brother Mac.
But see, again, being at one time being a warrior on that civil rights battlefield, I never went into a case. I understood what history showed of what was going on in our community. I never accepted that. And slowly but surely change happened. So when you say if Deion wasn't, but Deion is, that's part of the change. If Travis Hunter didn't, but Travis Hunter did go to Jackson State. If Barack Obama wasn't, but Barack Obama was. If those boys, those white guys that killed Ahmaud Arbery had gotten off like they did with Emmett Till.
Right.
They didn't. Yeah. So that change is coming, and this could be the catalyst, and that's all you need. Think about George Floyd. George Floyd wasn't the first one that we heard say, "I can't breathe." We heard that with Eric Garner, and to me, there was literally no difference in the way that Eric Garner was murdered and the way George Floyd was murdered. He couldn't breathe, but nobody did nothing. But that last straw was the one that broke that camel's back, and I want to believe that Brian Flores doing what no, think about this. In 100 years that the NFL has been in existence, not one black person has ever, for a head coaching position, ever sued them. Oh, the time is right. And if, again, part of what you got to prove is look at the statistical history of the NFL. Oh, their history is horrid.
Well, that's a fact. That's a fact. Go ahead, Dwayne.
I agree, Dr. Mack, that a change probably is coming. But I have to agree with Bubba that I don't think it's coming anytime soon. I see this as going to be another situation where this is where a settlement is reached, and this is going to be swept under the rug before too long.
I say this. And
to your point,
go ahead.
Well, hang on one second, brother. Hang on a second, Brother Mac. Finish your thoughts.
To your point of having that catalyst, Dr. Mac. I hate to say it, but back in the civil rights time and in these other causes that have come up, there have been enough people who were willing to stand up and say, okay, it doesn't matter what it's cost us. We gonna make sure that this happens. I don't think there's enough of those players in the NFL right now. And I keep going back to the Kaepernick thing. Kaepernick did it. Kaepernick had a few people standing with him, but you notice Kaepernick, he's gone. We still talk about him every now and then, but what really changed from that? Nothing. And there's players who were like, oh, I'm kind of on the fence about being with. They still in the NFL playing now.
Let me say this, Dwayne. Let me push back on you about what changed. Nothing. Listen, if you go back and remember when George Floyd was murdered, everybody went back to saying this is what Kaepernick was talking about, which is why the NFL, the NBA, and damn near every sports franchise you could find on those courts. I mean, who could have ever imagined that you would see Black Lives Matter on an NBA court? Who would ever think that you would see end racism on the back of NFL helmets? All of it went back to Kaepernick and to Black Lives Matter.
I don't think so. I disagree.
Process.
I disagree, because Kaepernick, at that point, there was so much other stuff going on. They realized that, Kaepernick was right. But they did, like I said, all of that was pomp and circumstance just to show that, we support the blacks. That's honestly what it felt like. That's all it felt like. NBA was already doing it because the NBA is primarily comprised of a lot of black players and a lot of black coaches. Right. So they went out there and they did it because when Colin Kaepernick did his thing, a lot of players in the NBA did that, and nothing happened to the NBA players. NFL came, they got rid of Kaepernick, and then all of a sudden, the other players that stood with him, they're still playing, and Kaepernick is the only one out, and still showing to this day. Because if there was a change, they would have took that off of Kaepernick, and he would have still been playing.
Yeah.
What you have to remember, DJ, is that it wasn't a singular incident with Kaepernick. Kaepernick is part of a building process and change. He's just part of that process. He was a vital part of that process, which is why when the murder of George Floyd occurred, they went back to it and said, okay, that's part of that foundation. Everything is building on top of each other. Brian Flores, he could finally be the straw that breaks the 100-year drought of no black person ever suing, because right now they can no longer say that no black person has ever sued the NFL in its existence for a head coaching position. He became the catalyst with that. And I'm just saying all of these things are part of the building process. Kaepernick, George Floyd's murder, the NBA players, athletes from all across the country. You had high school players that was kneeling, college players that was kneeling. It was all part of the process. This is another block in that building process for change.
Can I ask a question? I'm just listening and understand I'm a person listening from the perspective of I haven't watched football since the Falcons embarrassed me while I was in Boston. I was at a pub cheering on the Falcons because I'm just that kind of dude. I didn't care. And then the Falcons lost the Super Bowl. I stopped watching football after that, so I'm a little behind, and I need y'all help to bring me up to date on a couple things, because I'm curious where the three of you, where are we disagreeing? Because I think we all agree that this lawsuit is proper and good, right?
Yeah, I think the only thing that we're disagreeing on is what is going to be the outcome of it. And maybe the timeline of the outcome of it. I'll say to your point, Doctor. To your point,
one second.
Of all this stuff building on each other. I get that. I totally get that. But the biggest thing to me, the difference that why you won't see it. The NBA, when all of that stuff was happening, first off, NBA players represent so much wealth and they have so much influence. You see their faces up and down the court every day. So they have the power to affect change more in the NBA than the NFL players. You saw they had teams that were saying, we're not going to play. They just didn't come out and play.
And they actually boycotted.
And didn't. So the NBA was like, okay, well, we have to do something. The NFL,
Barack Obama stepped in.
Yeah, true. The NFL, there's 53 players on a team. You don't really know players' faces unless they're the big time, the quarterbacks or Odell Beckham or somebody like that. You don't see them. They're covered up all the time, and they represent so much. It's in order for a change to come, and we say that this is outside of sports and everything that happens, you got to affect the money. I don't think right now the NFL is gonna be there regardless. It's so much harder to affect their money because you got these owners that are old money. They getting paid. People are the white folks. They not gonna stop coming to them games. Even if black people stop coming to the games, the white people still gonna be out there, rain, sleet, snow. It don't matter. They're going to be there.
It's a different beast.
And the owners are going to get their money from the concessions and them big 100,000-seat stadiums. They're going to get their money. So
but you already said it.
Until we start affecting the money, it's still going to get swept under the rug.
One interjection, and then Brother Mac, I want to see where you go with it, because Brother Dwayne, you said it like about 10 minutes ago when you said there's an unlimited supply of bodies who will cross the picket line if these players decide to strike. Yeah. So in a way, we would be putting them on a career suicide mission, because they're just bodies lined up for that opportunity to throw on those uniforms.
Oh, Brother
Mac. See, I think that, I don't think that you all are giving enough credit to this awareness. It's been called wokeness. And I for one, I'm going out on my Nostradamus page right now. I'm saying right now, I will bet you and the DJ $1 that in 2 weeks, we are going to hear an outcry from NFL players. 2 weeks, that's what I'm giving you. After 2 weeks, you guys win the bet. The next 2 weeks,
I'll take that bet. Yeah, and
Me too.
I'll take the bet, even though I know I'm gonna lose, because I agree with you. In the next couple weeks, we're gonna hear that outcry. But come training camp time next year, are we going to hear that same outcry? Are we going to have players that's going to say, "Nah, until y'all fix whatever happened with this and y'all start fixing this head coach stuff, we not showing up to training camp"? Are we going to see that?
You heard my bet.
I'll take it, even though I know I'm gonna lose that bet. We gonna hear about it in 2 weeks, but are we gonna hear about it in 4 months?
James?
Right, and my thing is, let's see what happens, because the Super Bowl is coming around. They're going to do everything they can not to have any of these players boycott, do anything, because that's big ass money. So trust and believe they're going to do what they can to try to push this under the rug and try to silence all of this.
No. We're going to hear about it.
I would tell you this.
Go ahead, Dr. Mack.
Heaven forbid if they let me have access to the players, because the first thing I would do, I'd let those players go ahead and play the Super Bowl. I'd give them that. But you could trust and believe that All-Star game, I wouldn't show up at that All-Star game. I would try to convince every player not to. But I'm saying this as part of this bet. I'm saying that we are going to see some black coaches being hired before the next season starts. We will not be at that 3.1%. And we're not going to be at that 3.1% because the players are going to unite behind Brian Flores. And that change is going to be coming.
I think Dr. Mack, we might get one more black coach, and that's only because in Jacksonville where that is already in the works. Everything else is already taken up. They're not firing nobody to put no black people.
They're not firing nobody.
And Bubba, I don't think it's going to be swept under the rug for the Super Bowl. We're going to hear about it, but it's not going to make a difference. Just like you said, the Super Bowl is big business. The NFL already got their money. People not going to not watch the Super Bowl. People not going to not show up to the Super Bowl. They got us. They gave us this Snoop Dogg and Eminem this LA themed halftime thing. I'm telling you, it's
produced
by
Dr.
We produced by Jay-Z, but it's not going to matter.
Now that you said,
it's like we're in the barbershop for real today. Go ahead, bro, man.
Now that you said that, Dwayne, Ben, I need you to get on your Twitter account because I don't have one. I got to tell Snoop and all the other black entertainers to boycott.
This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Right? If we put our hands on the scale, but no, it's worthwhile. It's the bet is not the thing. Justice is a thing, and because justice is a thing, I'm going to do exactly that, brother Mac. Can I just tell y'all what I'm thinking about in the background over here? Go ahead, brother Mac.
But Ben, you got tweets. You got 2 tweets that you need to send me proof of life. I need to see you call out the NFL players. And then I need to call out all the black entertainers that's supposed to be on the halftime show and tell them to boycott it.
Oh, Lord. I don't see what. I don't know if I'm accepting that homework assignment. I don't know if I'm accepting that homework assignment, by the way. I always reserve the right to change my mind. I'm the master of my own fate. I do. Shit, let me wait. Here we go. Because I'm thinking about other things. Let me show you what I'm thinking about. Gentlemen, is there any way possible in the last 10 minutes of this that we can draw an analog between everything that we're talking about, Brian Flores and the NFL and Ukraine? Because I've seen some overlap, but I haven't been able to really pin it down. It might not even be possible, but that's what I'm thinking about in the background as we discuss foosball, which I love. I absolutely love football, but I stopped watching after the Falcons.
That's fine. Let me tell you what else I want you to think
Super
about.
Bowl.
I want the other thing, Ben, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about what them 4 young black men did against all.
Put them boys put them men on the screen for me while he discusses this. Go ahead, brother man.
I need you to think right now about what them 4 brothers did against all odds, and you need to tweet those messages, Ben. Tweet them. Where's your sacrifice? I'm calling on you. I'm putting you on the spot. Right here, right now.
You trying to get me to tip the scales of y'all bet.
Ben. Look at them. Look at them.
I tell you what.
All I'm asking you to do is tweet. That's it. Ben,
I'd like to think I have that kind of influence, Brother Mac, but I'm not that influential.
I was about to say, Ben, if you got that influence where you can influence Dr. Dre and Eminem and all of them, then shit, we should be on a good ass platform at this point, right? No, let me leave.
I mean, I got a couple people do follow me that I might could drop a bug in their ear, but at the end of the day,
right there. I'm the tall brother, you the little short one. You better tweet.
See, and Dr. Mac don't have, never mind. Let me leave it alone. But then I was thinking as well, too, that, I really think that this was something will happen with this during the Super Bowl with this lawsuit. If it keeps on going like it is and that like it's going, then once these ad companies start pulling out their commercials during Super Bowl time, that's going to affect their pockets real heavy. A lot of their revenue comes from these ads. So if there's any sense, you don't want to goddamn tweet them, Dr. Mac, these artists. Tweet these companies. Tweet these companies.
You better finesse that thing,
for the simple fact that they start pulling out all this advertising, they are losing billions and billions of dollars. And the NFL don't like when they lose money.
I know, DJ, I get that. But I need you to understand that I got first-hand access to Ben Dixon. I'm using my
Ben Dixon don't have first-hand access to these artists, though, Dr. Matt. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I ain't got access.
But that's why we got the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. I would tell you this much.
Get the marketing people.
I tell you this much. Listen. I think that there's something that can and should be done, right? And I think, Brother Mac, you're absolutely right. From just a moral arc of the universe perspective, we should align behind coach. I'm just going to call him coach because that's what we do. Every community I ever lived in, every community got a coach. We need a line behind coach. Coach can't be out here by himself, y'all. Because I got enough influence to have been out here by myself. Hey, bro, man, you're going to let me finish my move. You're going to let me finish my moment. Man, let me finish my moment, man. You let me get my little sermon.
All right, go ahead.
No, because you won't let me finish my sermon. This big crow. What I'm saying is this, Brother Mac. Yeah, I'm going to send tweets. I don't know if I'm going to send those tweets. I'm definitely going to weigh into the conversation because I think I have a responsibility, is what you're saying, as well as you and any of us who have any influence whatsoever to not allow coach to be out there by himself. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it should be incumbent on the players by themselves. Side with you guys, because I've been that person out there by myself who's gotten his head chopped off before, and I don't advise it to any of these players. I wouldn't, because they would have sacrificed their careers and then look, and their colleagues, they've been replaced, and now they're sitting at home while somebody has replaced them. I don't think that they should be out there by themselves. I think we have to go out as a whole delegation, or else, we don't go out at all.
These four was out there by themselves, and they ignited a whole bunch.
We got 5 people here. We got 5 people here.
And I need you to send a tweet, General.
Send a tweet, man. My tweets ain't that powerful no more, man. Okay, they cut me off at the root of my power. They cut me off at the root of my power.
They shadow banned Ben.
They got me. And they listen.
Shadow banning is a real ass thing.
Why you think we got the dopest show in the country and about 1,000 people watching us right now? They got us. The algorithm got me on lockdown.
Just know this. Yeah. I am the black eternal optimist. Change is coming, and it's going to come right around Brian Flores.
Bro, Mac, sing that song for us. I know it's in your heart.
Dr. Mac, I really,
change gonna come.
Like, I want so bad to agree with you on that I do, but just the realistic side of me doesn't see it from
my
this.
Big brother.
Doesn't see it from this, and not that this shouldn't be a big enough linchpin to make it happen, but I don't think so. Like, I just happened to turn around while we was doing this. Brian Flores is on ESPN right now on Get Up talking about it with 3 white guys.
That's my man.
But listen to what I'm saying. It's going to be talked about for a couple weeks. It's gonna. They're going to talk about it, and they're going to give us some other lip service show of thing that, oh, hey, this is what we doing. This is really, if you want to look at it, is going back to how the Rooney Rule started. The Rooney Rule started because black people won't get an opportunity. And what did they do? They imposed this rule, you got to go hire 2 black people. And what did they do? They found a way around that. Okay, we're gonna bring in our guys for show so we can say that we following the Rooney Rule. But we already know who we gonna hire. We know who we gonna hire coming into.
That's the part. That's the part.
Dwayne, but let me remind you of something. The biggest game in professional football is the Super Bowl. And because of the Rooney Rule, because that change came, do you remember that Super Bowl where there were 2 black head coaches?
I do, and it was lovely. It was the most beautiful thing I'd seen in the
NFL. Indianapolis versus what was the game?
All I'm saying to you is that if change is going to come, you got to believe it. You got to claim this thing. And I'm saying right now, we need to claim this. I don't, because when I hear you like that, I'm trying to imagine what our ancestors must have thought when they was in chattel slavery. They didn't have that attitude that, no, this ain't never going to end. You had folks that fought for it, died for it, and they got there. And what we're seeing with Brian Flores is a man who's saying, if I have to lose my coaching career to bring about this change, so be it. And for that,
yes, okay. And he is.
I got to highlight it. Go ahead.
With him for that.
Well, highlight this with India Irie if we could, but we only have a few minutes left. I want to highlight this with India Irie, who has jumped into the Joe Rogan Spotify conversation. She's pulled her music from Spotify. Now, she is in good. Here's the thing, but Spotify is still siding with Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan is still going to be on Spotify. Right. And now you got a sister, India Irie, who's pulled her music in solidarity with the truth, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, it's solidarity with the truth versus misinformation. I applaud her, but ultimately it's just hurting her at the end of the day. I'm not saying it's not noteworthy at all. I'm saying some of these moves, we got to have more than just an individual person.
Exactly. We have to be more organized together.
Just yesterday, we talked about.
Well, okay, all right.
Judas.
Go ahead.
Just the other day, we just talked about not being a Judas and accepting 30 dirty pieces of silver. India Irie said, I don't want your 30 pieces of dirty silver.
That's right. I agree with her.
You have to make this. So you can't say out both sides of your neck that she's only hurting herself. She's operating in a bigger cause. This is where our accomplishments as a people has come from. Because people have
you missed a clause. You missed a very important clause. You missed a very important clause of what I said, because it changes the dynamics of everything, in my opinion, is that she's only hurting herself if she's out there by herself. If if Coach is out there by him, wait, one second. When she's amongst three artists. It's Neil Young, India Irie, and one other artist who's far more popular than Neil Young. Apparently, I don't. Jody, sorry.
Joni Mitchell and Graham Nash. It's
so she's technically, it's four now. So at the end of the day, if Spotify holds the line, then she would have made a sacrifice. It's noteworthy. It is honorable. It is the right thing to do. I get it. I am all for the sacrifice. I think what I'm trying to say is we're not going to gain ground if people keep sacrificing by themselves and going down by themselves. It's solidarity or nothing. It's solidarity or nothing.
Exactly. It's Dr. Mack. It's when you go and you were a former military man. When you go,
I was never military.
Sorry about that. So put at it like you go into war. If you go into war, if we running out there, all right, I'm gonna go, and then in 10 minutes you gonna go, and then in 10 minutes he gonna go, instead of in 15 minutes all 5,000 of us
everybody
are gonna go. If we getting picked off if we going out there one by one. That's my kind of point with it. India Irie, and to agree with Ben, yes, that's an awesome stand that she's taking, but who's out there really standing with her? You know what I mean? Okay, so I don't think it's enough people standing with her. Same with is not enough people standing right now with these black issues in the NFL to affect the bottom line. Because Spotify not losing no sleep over India Irie.
I didn't know you could argue this. Wait, can we pause? Can we pause and say?
And let me get.
Wait a minute. Can we pause and reflect on this conversation, Dwayne? I didn't know you want to argue like this. Go ahead, DJ Exclusive, and then Brother Matt.
What I was going to say is you got to look at it like this. And I hate to say it like this because India Irie is an awesome artist, but India Irie is not an artist that has a lot of followers and listeners on Spotify like that. So, yes, she pulled her music, but she's still not losing out that much because she's still streamed on several other platforms. So, losing one of these platforms, yes, it may be one of the main ones. She may lose a little bit of money, but I'm glad that she did it. Neil Young, on the other hand, he has a little power. Yeah. Neil Young is an older artist, and Joni Mitchell. They're older artists, so they have that a huger following. But you got to think about it. Spotify is for the generation of the young. I'm just going to put it out there and say it like that. Now, once you start having Katy Perry's, Beyonce's, Jay-Z's, Lil Wayne's, and all these people start pulling their music, then that's when we'll start noticing a change. Yep. But like I said, you have India Irie, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Graham Nash, 3 old white people I think Jody mentioned maybe black. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not sure. And half of these music I haven't heard besides NDRE.
Jody Mitchell's white.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's all going to depend. So I'm glad that they're doing this, but Spotify is still going to stand their ground because right now they're not losing that many listeners.
And Ben, we can't tie. I don't think I can tie this to Ukraine, but we've tied it to NDRE, and we can tie it to everything else that's happening in the country. To Dr. Mac's point about when the people were dying and the change came from that happened because there was a catalyst. Yes, like you said, Dr. Mac, there was a catalyst, but then there was this overwhelming swarm of black people, of white people, of allies, of people of all kinds that came together as one and said, we're not going to do nothing else until y'all fix this.
Jinkies.
So,
So gentlemen, let me say this. Let me help you to understand the spirit in which I'm listening to this. When I was NAACP in Seattle, and there was a killing of a African-American man at the hands of unlawful law enforcement. I got arrested for that, and I knew I was going to get arrested. I got arrested. I had just gotten married, had a brand new mortgage. My son was 1 year old, and I told my wife at the time, I said, "Baby, if I get convicted, which I'm not afraid to do this. Don't be afraid to just sell the house and go back down to Florida and be with your family." And to her credit, she says, "No, baby, I'm not doing anything." I'm just saying to you that there are some of us who are willing to make that sacrifice for a greater good, even if it's at our expense. And I am compelled to do it because I've seen so many times in our history where people have done that. And whether they benefited from it or not, they still did it. And that is what courage is. Courage is when you're afraid to do it, but you know. That's what greatness is. Greatness is when you're afraid to do it, but you go ahead and do it anyway, and it's not going to benefit you. When my mother paid those $2 for her poll tax, there was nobody on that ballot that cared a damn thing about us. But my mother was hoping and praying that one day that change is going to come. And when we saw the election of the first black president, when we saw all these blacks being elected in political bodies around, that $2 now all of a sudden it was worth something. When I got arrested in Seattle, there was a message sent. Now, if it had to come at my expense, so be it. Because I look and I read, this history is not trivial to me. I try to internalize the sacrifices that these people made. And that's what the word sacrifice means. It means I am willing to forego what could be beneficial to me for the greater good of others.
Absolutely.
And that is what I love about Brian Flores. And that is what I'm saying right now, that in my DNA, I feel this change is coming over this particular issue as it applies to black coaches in the National Foosball League.
Absolutely, Dr. Mack, and I have to say I respect you so much because I know I know of some of the things that you've done, and I totally agree with you that there have been over the course of time there have been so many people with the courage and the fortitude to stand up for a cause, but until there were other people standing with them, it didn't become a movement. There's always people with courage and people willing to come out and do. Yes, I'll stand on this. You've done it. There have been so many people that have done it. Brian Flores is doing it right now. But until there were people behind them, until there were people riding with them, it wasn't a movement. It was just this. Before that, it was almost like a martyr. It's just yes.
It was a martyr. That's what I was about to say.
You for doing this, but I don't know if I'm going to rock with you on it. Until there was enough people that had that same courage and was willing to stand up with them, nothing happened.
But Dwayne, I'm saying this.
Ben, you mean it, Ben?
Let's assume nothing happens with this Brian Flores. Let's go down your premise. Trust and believe that the day that it does happen, Brian Flores will be a block in that foundation that allowed it, that made it possible to happen. And that is the point that I'm trying to make, is that
I see
you will never get that foundation unless there are people that are willing to be a part of that foundation. They may not benefit from it, but that is how that change comes about. And trust and believe, because of what he's doing. In 100 years that this league has been there, not one black person had the courage to do what Brian Flores is now doing. That in and of itself is a victory.
Yeah,
change is here.
But I definitely agree with you, Doc. I do.
Yeah.
But my thing, I think maybe our disconnect is coming from just experiences, because you've had way more experiences than I have. So I can only speak on what the NFL has shown me, and what the players in the NFL have shown me, and the people who are or are not willing to get behind these things have shown me. So there have been this isn't the first time we've heard about this inequity in coaching, in the GM. This isn't the first time. This isn't the first time we've heard about black people getting the short end of the stick in the NFL. And going back to Kaepernick, Kaepernick was willing to stand up and do that. But my experiences have shown me that, okay, this is going to be a big issue for a while. We may come back to it every now and then. We're going to give you this. We're going to give you these little 30 pieces of silver to hold y'all over and make it look like we doing something. And it's going to make y'all be quiet enough that we can go back to business as usual. We're going to give you the Rooney Rule, and now we back to business as usual. We're going to show you the Rooney Rule, but we know who we want to hire, and now we right back at it.
But Dwayne, I want you to remember this. I want you to think about it from this perspective. Who was the Snyder, Jimmy the Greek Snyder? Remember when Snyder made that comment that blacks weren't cerebral enough to play the position of quarterback?
Yes.
And we, for the longest time, didn't think that we'd ever see blacks, and now blacks dominate the position of quarterback. The Washington Redskins, against hell and high water, said they never changed their name, and now they've just come out with a new name change because they've come to the senses because there was enough pressure put on them. I'm saying to you that what you think is impossible, we cannot. If ever there is a group of people who should never accept impossibility when it comes to change, it is those of us who have come from the shackles of chattel slavery. We have seen things in this league change. Now, are they changing at the rate that we want them to change at? Absolutely not. America's not doing it. But we have seen changes in this with these 32 white billionaires. We have seen that change. And I'm saying to you that right now, that change has already occurred. When he filed that lawsuit, that was a change.
So wait, hold on, Dr. Mack. You know, why did the change happen when they said black people can't play quarterback? When they said when the Redskins had to change their name, there was so much outcry about that. And I hate to even say, and I hope I'm not offending anybody when I say this, is that at that moment, that was the thing of the inclusion and being representation and diversity. That was the thing of the moment there.
That was the thing.
So they hopped on, and there was so much push behind that affected the money. There were people that were ad sponsors and people not willing to go to Redskins game. There was people they were affecting the money. That's how it happened.
But Dwayne, listen, when you talking about the outcry, think about this. You just said to me, now, Ben, who was the white guy that had the piece that we watched, you say used to be with Fox News?
Shepard Smith.
Okay, so
over
now
at CNBC.
Shepard, now you got Shepard talking about it on CNBC. You just told me that Flores is on ESPN First Take. Dr. Patton is talking about it. We on the Ben Dixon Show are talking about it. I guarantee you, and on sports programs all over this country,
so
it's being talked about.
Yes, it's being talked about. But like I said, I can only speak from my experience. The sponsors and the ad dollars going into the NFL, them people, they don't care about us. They don't give a shit about us, Dr. Mack. They not gonna pull their money for us. They don't care about us. The NBA changes, those other things changes. The Redskins thing happened because people was willing to put money behind what they was talking about. They not willing to do that for us.
We playing that long game. This is all a long game.
There it is. Go ahead, James, because
it's what somebody just said in the chat room. It's a very long game that we playing, Dr. Matt. This game has been played for years in the NFL, and Kaepernick did put on that pressure to do. Hold on, let me finish. He did put that pressure on to get a lot of stuff moving, but this it's a long game, and I think honestly a lot of people are tired of it. A lot of people did start boycotting the NFL. I stopped watching the NFL for a long time, and a lot of people have stopped watching. But as we see, it doesn't matter. I ain't gonna say it doesn't matter, but these people are still out there. They're still making that money where they still having that same stuff or whatever the hell's going on. I'm just sick of it.
But see, listen, DJ, I think most of us think that when something happens, you just wave a magic wand and then everything's gonna be okay. Case in point, when we elected the first black president of the United States, Everybody just thought that, okay, Barack Obama's going to wave a magic wand and then everything's going to be cool in the game for black folks. You cannot put those types of expectations on what change takes place. Change is a building process. And I'm saying to you now that there's enough folks out there, the India Iris, and I'm going to tell you something. Based on what Neil Young did and what he was talking about, now Joe Rogan goes and apologizes for his statements and says he's open to change. But trust and believe this. I canceled my Spotify account because of what was going on. Absolutely can't. I may be just one person in the cog, but trust and believe, that is how the change takes place. It is a building process, and we're in the midst of it. You just got to recognize it.
And I will agree, it is a change of process. And I'm going to put one other thing out there that's going to be similar to it. That y'all see what they did to Whoopi. They suspended her for 2 weeks. So the same, we don't get that same treatment that these white folks get. Because, see, Joe Rogan ass still on Spotify. But they took Whoopi off for her comments that she made for 2 weeks. So it's a systemic change that needs to come nationwide. Because right now it is not happening. And if these, and I hate to say it like this, yes, we have strengthened every single one of us, all the black people, everybody. We have strengthened numbers, but I'm gonna say it, we can't get our shit together enough where we can come together on some of these issues and work through it and overcome like we should be doing.
That
Brother Mac, go ahead, Mac.
I'm gonna tell you why I refuse to accept that. You know, we always talk about black folks can't get their issues together. Look at what happened on January 6th. White folks couldn't get their shit together. Any group of people can't get their shit together. But when you take a look at the advancements that are taking place in this country by black folks, when John H. Johnson started Ebony Magazine and Johnson Publishing, he had his shit together. When Bob Johnson put BET together, he had his shit together. When Ben Dixon put this show together and put all of us on there, is because we got our shit together. We can't just look at just the failures of it. You can go into any group of people. Look at white folks. You think white folks got their shit together?
Hey, but you know what they do got, Dr. Mac? They got money. They got money, and they willing to put money behind what's important to them. We will not make any kind of change because that's the only way. That's the only way until we are in more of the boardrooms making the decisions, owning the companies that those boardrooms sit in. We gonna keep coming back to the same thing because we are dependent on them to give us to give us everything. Until we are banding together and taking back our emotion, our financial freedom. Until we I don't know how else to say it. Until we start controlling shit and are the ones owning shit. And hiring our people.
Listen,
it's not gonna matter.
Can I say it like this? Because we are coming up at the time. I love.
Oh, you're way over, Ben. There's no after party today.
Yeah, this is you all got the front row.
No one listens to the producer.
Hang on a second. You guys got a front row seat to what it's like to be at a black barbershop for real. The one that can we can have a conversation and disagree with each other very passionately. And to the extent of Dwayne, we're gonna have to get you from behind the camera one day and get you in front of the camera to talk about sports more often.
Y'all done got me all excited. Y'all done got me all excited. I done woke up the baby. Y'all done got me up. See?
Oh damn.
Sorry,
finish your thought, Ben. Finish your thought, Ben. Because Ben, you was doing good, bro.
Because Dwayne really could give Stephen A. Smith a run for his money.
A run for his money, right?
And I loved hearing that passion from you, brother. First and foremost. So I think the thing is, like, really simply, brother Mac. I actually am leaning more. I go back and forth. I'm with you on this part. Somebody's got to be first. If you ask us in a battle, who's going to go first? We're looking for the people who going to jump first. Coach jump first. Let's give them our full support. Indy Irie jump first. Let's give her our full support. And shame on us collectively if we can't bring our resources to bear. I'm gonna send tweets, brother Mac. I'm gonna send out some tweets. But I appreciate this conversation. I want to recognize Georgia Ford, who's not here with us today, and Rebecca, who's not here with us today. Both of them serendipitously could not be here, which is why I feel like this conversation, they provided space for us to have this conversation. So, gentlemen, each of you, thank you so much for the pieces that you brought. It's not finished but I think we got our marching orders and whatever little.
And Ben, let me just say this, brothers. I certainly appreciate it.
I'll bring it to bear.
Yeah, and brothers, I want to say to you, without question, I certainly appreciate the dialogue that we've had, and love you both, love you all, and and Dwayne, I absolutely hear you. You're hoping that my sentiments could be correct, but you're looking at it based on what you've seen in the past. And the fact of the matter is, a person or entity's past behavior is a very good predictor of their future actions. I get that. I'm just saying. That's why I believe this change is coming. That's why the word change means it ain't going to happen no more. So I'm hanging there. But, brothers, I so appreciate the conversation with all my heart and soul. Love you, brothers.
Absolutely.
Love y'all, too. And I'll say one other thing as well, too. And this is another conversation that needs to be had. It needs to be a round table. Black people, we got to stand together through this thing. Stop killing each other, man. Y'all killing 6-month-old babies here in Atlanta, killing kids every goddamn week, man. Hey, the only way that we gonna overcome and get together and trample over some of this shit is if we pull together as community, family, and as a unit and get all of this shit done. There's strength in numbers.
What happened, James? Man, who baby got killed, man?
6-month-old baby boy. Got killed last week in a shootout, in a drive-by shooting. Lady thought that she heard a gunshot. She was just driving, didn't think about it, and then once she pulled over and looked in the back seat, her baby slumped over dead. 6 months old. That baby didn't do anything to anybody. 8-year-old child recently just got shot yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Now on the news here in Atlanta, it's becoming an ongoing thing. But the thing is, it's just not happening here in Atlanta. I wish I could say that it was just happening here. It's not. I know that this is nationwide, and we won't change, and we want to do better for our people and build better and have all things that we want to have. But how the fuck can we do that, y'all? And we out here killing babies because some petty beef, because somebody stepped on your shoes, because somebody ran across your car. Come on, man. We got to do better. It starts with us. We know what we want to do, and we know what we need to do and what we have to do. Dr. Mack, I freaking love Dr. Mack to death because this man drops so much knowledge and history and stuff that I didn't know. And it is an honor to be on screen with everybody all at the same time, but Dr. Mack especially, because I learn something every day. But it's overshadowed because other black people, everybody else don't want to get right. I'm doing my part to get right, and I just need everybody else to get right too. And Dr. Mack, shout out to you, brother, because like I said, if it wasn't for you, it'd be a lot of stuff that I wouldn't know. That's Ben, right. You already know that because Ben, I've been here before, Ben, but you already know.
Yeah, man, we good, bro.
Well,
that's how it happens at the barbershop, man.
Right.
You got brother DJ. I don't know if you heard the joke, but you know how to eat an elephant, right?
Yeah.
There you go. One bite at a time.
That's right.
One bite at a time.
Ooh, boy, Dwayne, I feel like you could get the last word here, man, and we get out of here.
I'm good. This was fun.
It was.
I said for a long time, the only way that you really continue to learn and grow is to have conversations with people that don't agree with you. So all respect to Dr. Mack, we can disagree on certain things of it, but at the core of it, we want the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So absolutely.
That's
right.
That's it.
That's right. Liberation of all people, marginalized people, all black people, freedom. Is that music fading in the background? Fade me some music in so we can let everybody know we getting out of here.
Take us out of here. Brothers, I'll see you tomorrow.
There it is. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Love all of y'all.
With Rebecca ass popping up in the Slack. Late, Rebecca. We are over. Thank y'all so much for tuning in today, man. Hey, man, great conversations with my brothers today. Rebecca, we did miss you. Georgia, we did too. Rebecca, we missed you too. And shout out to David. David trying to keep everything together in the background, but he was just like, okay, God damn it, y'all just go ahead. But anyway, man, thank y'all for tuning in and chilling with our barbershop conversations, man. I love these brothers to death and love y'all too. Make sure that if you have not already, patreon.com/NikeItOrNot, patreon.com/TheBP Show. Your affirmation for today is abundance is is coming. I deserve and accept it. Abundance is coming. I deserve and accept it. Oh, and if you know and you agree, y'all put them hearts and lines in the chats, man. Love y'all, mean it. We will see